Hey, what's up, fellas? This is Dave with Moniology. Hope everyone is having a great day. Before I start on this uranium sector review, I wanted to just touch on a personal note here. So, for the last couple of years, I've been studying for the CFA, and I'm sitting for the level 3 of the CFA in June. But in the meantime, I've been passionately working on these videos over the last many years, and I've gotten quite a following, quite great receptive feedback. And I'm very excited about the potential here that we have together in building basically an education brand for investors and traders. And I want to start something of this sort here with these videos. So coming July of this year, following the CFA exam, I hope to launch the premium service to this Moniology on Markets, where I explore sector videos, I explore markets from various different angles. I look forward to inviting other traders and investors as I create a podcast, and all of this will be available to premium subscribers. And I'll talk more about this after the video. But over the next couple of months, I intend to start making these videos publicly available to give a sense of what I'd like to accomplish here. It's a step in the direction of what I'm looking to create, but it's not a completed product, so I look forward to hearing your feedback and your input, what you'd like to see, and I really appreciate your support and guidance, and let's do this together. So without further ado, here's the uranium sector review for February 5th, 2019. Bottom line is uranium looks very, very strong right now, as you'll see in the underlying names in the sector. On my watch list, these are, for the most part, all look very bullish. Now, what I've noticed is that uranium itself has been correlated to the overall equity markets, and so I'm still overall net bearish on the longer-term trend over the last 12 months on equity markets, and I think that this recent bullishness will not last for too long. So I'm curious to see how the uranium market plays out. Now, what I will say is these videos are for education purposes only. I'm not going to, unless I actually own one of these names, I will not actually tell you what to buy or what to sell. My point is to show you and educate you how I approach looking at these individual names. And finally, I want to point out that how I view technical analysis is a lot of you folks are reaching out to me and saying, well, what about this, and what about the ounces in the ground these guys have and those guys have. Look, I do due diligence in some companies, but I can't do them on all. What technical analysis allows me to do is take the information of all the market participants who have presumably done the due diligence and say, okay, what is the chart showing? Where is the momentum going? What sectors are starting to break out? What individual names are starting to break out or break down? And the assumption is these are largely because of fundamental factors, either in the macro level or the micro level of the names themselves. So these videos are, for those of you new to these videos, these are from a weekly standpoint, which means that they span a larger time frame, which allows me to remove a lot of the short-term trading noise in the markets and a lot of the short-term manipulations of day traders. So that's my approach. Everyone's approach is different, and of course, it's got to be done in along with one's own personality type and what ultimately excites them and what ultimately will allow them to succeed. This is my approach, and here we go. All right, so this watch list is in alphabetical order, not in any other order. So looking at ALX Uranium Corp, this one has been in consolidation since 2016, a low of 0.055, basically a high of 11 cents, and there's really nothing to see here right now in this particular name. Apia Energy, however, is breaking out, and I pointed this out in past videos. Look at the volume here. Most importantly, the momentum. The momentum is leading price, and it's on the verge, in my opinion, of breaking above the 70 marker. Now, one area I will point out that momentum broke down right around here last time around in early February of 2017. So this might be a point of resistance. Perhaps the stock pulls back. But nonetheless, it looks like it wants to break out. Might consolidate here for a while, but a breakout is likely imminent in momentum. And right now, it's at close at 40 cents. I think it's going to hit 46, 47 cents at a minimum. And thereafter, fundamentals take over, and there's looks like a lot of upside here in Apia Energy. Blue Sky Uranium Corp. So this one's still in a downtrend, price downtrend here since middle of 2016, but there is some divergence, positive divergence in momentum. So price is going down, but momentum is consolidating and not following suit. So it's still below 50, which is not positive, but I would look for this breakout here. If this breaks out in the coming weeks, if the uranium sector does break out, then this particular name could follow suit with the first target upon breakout about 33 cents over here. Cameco Energy, this is the gorilla in the uranium space. The billion-dollar market cap. So it's created this rounded bottom, which is one of my favorite formations, which is very, very bullish. Meanwhile, it's also it's in this uptrend here that is being built. So if this can break out above the 13 level, I think the target of around 15 is very reasonable. You see, it's already it's consolidated here for many months above the 50, which is always very bullish, and it broke out of this downtrend that it's been this momentum downtrend since the start of 2018. So it's interesting because the price had been going up, but momentum had been going lower. So I had pointed out a couple of times that there is negative divergence in price versus momentum, but that's broken out, and that's very bullish. And so I expect at the very least a test of this previous high here of around 67, 68 on momentum, which likely coincides with this 15 top. So the question is what happens here. Anybody's guess, but there's still some nice upside to be had in the short run on Cameco. Canalaska Uranium, CVVUF. Here's another one that's in a downtrend since late 2016. And you see the momentum downtrend is also still intact. Every point that we've touched has been met with rejection. Is this time different? I think so. But of course, let price dictate what happens. So if we're above the 50 RSI, which is positive, I want to see this broken out on a weekly close. I want to see this downtrend broken on a weekly close. So from my standpoint, above 30 cents is a safe play with a nice risk reward. Stop loss below this trend line with at least a short-term target of 40 cents. Ultimately, I think if uranium does break out, I think this particular name makes a run to the 120 area. Deep Yellow, one of my favorites on this list here. Just similar chart to Apia. So just a beautiful consolidation for a couple of years now, and it's on the upper end of this consolidative phase. It needs to break out of this 42 cent zone for the next leg to begin, but I like that momentum has recaptured the 50 area, retested successfully, and now it's breaking above the 60-61 area, which is really nice because that's where previous resistance was met. So if it can continue rallying, that's great. If you own it, wonderful. If you don't own it, I would look to buy it above this breakout zone and not beforehand, because it's been known to fall back multiple times, and wouldn't be surprised if it happens here again. Now, Denison Mines has been one of the more frustrating names in the space. It's got a good fundamental asset, but basically it's just been a noisy chart. I don't like noisy charts. I'll point out what I mean by that. I like charts that have been in downtrends and have been in uptrends. And this, here it was in a downtrend and it broke out above it. But now it's just going up and down, up and down. So until it breaks out above that 70 marker, which coincides with the 200-week moving average, there's really not much to see. So yes, there's a short-term trading opportunity. I think the move to 70 is a high probability. We've broken above the 50 RSI, which is very nice. But ultimately, I think that it's going to stall here. It's going to consolidate for a while, and then let's see what happens. I think it's going to ultimately depend on the overall uranium market, but there's not that much apparent upside at this point in time in Denison. Now, I will point out this PPO is making a move towards a break above zero. You'll find that a lot of the names in this space right now are doing that, which is very positive. Now, of course, they can go like this and then roll back over. But I think that given the underlying fundamentals behind uranium, I think the probability does move to the upside that PPO breaks above zero. Now, Encore Energy is another one of my favorite names, both from a fundamental and a technical play. It likes going into these wedges. And the last time it broke out of this wedge, we consolidated a while, but we consolidated and started building positive momentum here on divergence on RSI, and we finally broke here above the 50 RSI level. And then we had this massive hammer pattern multiple times and ultimately broke out. For those of you who watch my videos, this is an area I said to start looking to go long this name. Now, we made a high, beautiful touch the 14.5 level. Now we've consolidated in this bullish wedge pattern, and now we've broken back above it, both in terms of momentum and price. So I expect to make a rerun at 14.5, but ultimately, if you're not long right now, most likely the next buy point really is above 14.5. However, if you want to test it here with a stop loss right below this level, you can do that. But with these penny names, very often you can get washed out, so be very careful there. Energy Fuels, another one that broke out above its downtrend here in momentum. So that means that it's very likely to break above 350 for the traders that aren't buying on fundamental reasons. Above 350, this is a buy. Above the 200 moving average, week moving average at 370, it's another buy. And at that point, it's really clear sailing. This is what I mean by a non-noisy chart. Break out of a downtrend, little consolidation back test, and then boom. And it's been rallying and consolidating above the 50-week moving average, right below the 200 moving average. It's very healthy, and that's precisely what you want to see. So one of the best charts in the sector right now. Fission Uranium Corp. It's basically in this messy consolidation. So when it does break out, it's going to be beautiful. But obviously, it's got to break this trend line. And if it does, then it targets 70. But at that point, you have to kind of revisit the chart. There's a lot of momentum here as it's just rebuilding its oversold position. So if it can break out above that 50 RSI level, fantastic, and it can make a nice run. But until then, you just got to be cautious. Forces Metals, another one that's had a beautiful pattern, rounded bottom here, kind of like a cup and handle. Another rounded bottom, another cup and handle, and a nice rally here with another handle here. And I think ultimately this one breaks to the upside. It's consolidating right below the 50, and it's moving in an upward trajectory. You notice PPO is starting to curl, and I think that this is going to make a run towards a break above 28. That's the real nice technical buy point. But again, if you want to start dipping your toes in the water above this trend line, is also a nice initial entry. Now, gold mining, this one I do own, and I like it very much. And the reason it's in this watch list is they have a uranium option play, which is really interesting. They haven't done much development, but they partnered with Areva and uranium. It's a big producer, and they've been doing a lot of development on this particular asset. And as the uranium sector breaks out, this asset becomes that they own becomes a very, very interesting M&A candidate, a spin-off candidate. And so at that point, they sell that asset for $100 million. This particular stock can double or triple just on that alone. So you'll see, aside from gold and the underlying assets that I've covered in the precious metals videos, you see this breaking out, and this is not coincidental to the uranium move as well. So keep an eye on this one. This can move very, very nicely. I can see this hit $1.30 in the next couple of weeks just on the momentum here. I mean, it's just a beautiful chart, and there's really nothing stopping it at this point. They've got all the cash that they need for the remainder of the year. They're in positive jurisdictions, so do your due diligence, but definitely like this name. Gaviex Uranium, this is on the social media channels. This is one of the favorite names. I don't know much on the fundamental story, but definitely there's a lot of positive energy behind this on Twitter amongst my followers. And so this is in a bullish wedge breakout formation. So clearly a nice breakout here above that 10-cent zone, which is kind of where we rallied from in December of 2016. And we had a nice move from about 10 cents all the way to 34. So definitely the upside is there. There's a lot of overhead supply, unlike here where you see this is empty. Well, here there's just a ton of supply. So first it needs to break above this downtrend. Then it needs to break out above this previous point of resistance and multiple times. And then if it does break out and hopefully backtest, this is the area that I would be looking to buy. If you're buying on a fundamental basis, fantastic, and good luck to you. But from a technical standpoint, this is the first buy entry, and then of course from here to here, that's your first target, and then from here to here on a breakout is the second target. ISO Energy. This one's got this rounded bottom, one of my favorite formations here. It's consolidating above the 50, which is another one of my my preferences. It had positive divergence. Look at this, 57 cents versus 55, but momentum was much higher at 57 versus price at 55. That means positive divergence. It's back testing above the 50-week moving average. I just like this upward climb. I think it breaks 60 cents eventually, and that's your buy point for ISO Energy from a technical standpoint. Laramide Resources, another name that's very interesting. So it's got this downtrend here over the last 2 years, but it broke out above this downtrend, and now it's consolidating in this bullish wedge pattern right below the 200 moving average. It's right at the 50 RSI point, so it needs to hold this. It needs to break out of this wedge very soon. It's got the 50-week moving average serving as support. I like this if it can break out above the 200-week moving average at 32 cents. It's got a really nice risk-reward entry zone with a first target of 40 cents followed by 55. If it should break out from there, a lot of upside, blue sky ahead. NextGen Energy, one of the best fundamental stories, but it's just been boring, really. I mean, up and down in a bullish wedge consolidation formation below $2, but it's found a lot of support here at the 150 to 175 level. So every time it's fallen there, it's really bounced back. So it's been a good fundamental contrarian play. From a technical standpoint, it needs to break 210. It needs to break above this downtrend. Ultimately, I think it will. If you've got a long-term trajectory, this is a good name to hold. It breaks above this trend line, it's going to make a run towards 290. It breaks above there, 340, and it's got, uranium goes to $50 an ounce, and this can see double digits in price. So a lot of good story there, but not yet in anything in price. Plateau Uranium. This one's very interesting. Now, look at these formations that it's had over the years. So this kind of a bullish corrective kind of cup and handle. Then you've got another bullish wedge breakout. Then you've got another more massive bullish wedge breakout. I think it breaks to the upside. I think ultimately we see 125, if not higher. But it's got to prove itself. So it needs to break out here first. It needs to hold above 45 cents. It's got it's got two, whereas this breakout had support of the 50 and 200 week moving average. This one has to break above these two. So there's a lot of upside resistance, but should it break above those, there's a lot of blue sky ahead. So that's definitely interesting. Pure Point Uranium. This is one of the better technical pictures here. So it kind of like Encore Energy, it's been consolidating just forever, but it's broken above the 50 and the 200 week moving averages, and it looks like the 50 wants to move across the 200, which is bullish. You see momentum. When it broke above the 50, that's where we had our first initial move, and now it's kind of pulled back at the 70 level. Not coincidentally, this is the last time we broke down, right over here. This was the point at which it broke down. Now that's the point that serves as resistance. So people don't really talk about momentum as a resistance and support indicator. I think it's more important than price. So if it breaks above 10 cents here, it likely coincides with a break above 70, and that's your buy trigger towards a move towards 14.5. And if it stays above that 70 level, then this can have a multi 100% move to the upside. Don't know the fundamentals behind the story, but certainly looks good from a technical standpoint. Sky Harbor Resources. This one, it's got a good fundamental story, but it just looks pretty ugly of late. I mean, it's been consolidating here. This can be construed as a bullish wedge corrective pattern, but look at this. It's got negative divergence in RSI, so double bottom in price, in momentum rather, but price is basically, I don't know, it just doesn't look good. I mean, if this breaks below 26 cents, this can really go much lower. If it breaks above it, then 42 cents is the first target, followed by 54, but I would stay away from this name for the time being. UEX Corp, another one that's been consolidating with positive divergence. So momentum hasn't been moving negative. It's actually been moving positive, and whereas the price has just been in this bullish wedge pattern for a while now. So it broke out of this wedge, and now it's breaking higher. I expect to see 20 cents to 30 cents within the next 12 months if the uranium sector continues to show a bounce. Now, again, look at the PPO. It broke above zero, so it's got a lot going for it just from a technical standpoint. And hopefully for the bulls in this name, the fundamentals back that story. Your Energy, URG. This one looks like it wants to break above that 80-cent zone, and that is your buy point. It broke, it rammed through 50 RSI, which is very positive. Perhaps it back tests it here, which would be very bullish if it can hold that back test and then move higher. But yeah, it's been in this kind of nasty consolidation like Denison, but this is blue sky right here. And so should it break above 80 cents, I mean, this could fly. Uranium Energy Corp, UEC. This one is owned by the same CEO effectively as gold mining. So this one has a very good fundamental story behind it. It's got good management, but it's had basically nasty price action for the last many months. But it's finally broken out above this momentum downtrend. Notice here. So if it can hold this on a weekly, that's very positive. It's doing so above the 50 RSI. It just broke above the 50-week moving average, right below the 200. It can make a run if it breaks above 200. I would set a price target at 190, and if the uranium sector continues to move higher, then you're looking at 3. Bottom line is this name is one that if uranium does take off, and if the laws in the U.S. are kind of moved in a more favorable direction towards domestically produced uranium, this is the one to watch. This could see double digits very quickly should that happen, and I think the probability is increasing that it will. And look at PPO, that's a very strong move above zero. Uranium Participation Corp, a newcomer to my list. This one looks beautiful. Similar chart to Cameco. It's got this rounded bottom, and it looks like it's getting ready to break above that 370 zone. So above 370, this is a buy, and the upside is 5, 6. It's got a lot of technical upside, and it's got a nice risk reward. It breaks out. This is your stop loss area above the 200-week moving average, and this is your buy point. So pretty straightforward there. Western Uranium Corp, probably my favorite chart on this list right now, simply because of this just picture perfect cup and handle. It's consolidated here from a high of 270 all the way to 96, which we called pretty right on. I mean, it's not always that you get it so accurately, but this was a good call. And then it's consolidated here below the 50-week moving average, and it looks like it wants to break back above. Notice it's building a higher high on RSI and consolidating right under the 50. So should this zoom past 50, it's going to coincide with the break above 130, and I think the next price target is 220. So a lot of upside here. I really like this name at this price point. And finally, the infamous Westwater Resources. There's nothing really to say. It's nasty. It's showing some positive signs, positive divergence. But until this negative downtrend is broken, until this 25 area is tested and retested from the upside, I wouldn't touch it. I would stay away. Guys, bottom line is a lot of opportunities here, but obviously do your due diligence, price, position size accordingly, and good luck. Now, what I mentioned earlier is my new premium service that I'd like to start periodically talking about. I've got 100 spots that I'm gonna make available for the premium service. 10 of them have already been filled. So if you are interested in a spot, just shoot me a quick email and let me know that you're interested. I'll give you the details as I create them. I appreciate the feedback. If you want to see certain features in the service, please don't hesitate to let me know. And again, I appreciate your support. Please follow me on StockTwits, Twitter, and subscribe on YouTube. Have yourself a great week.